Just back from IT Nation Europe. What a fantastic event. It was in London, United Kingdom. It's early March 2025, and it was a sold out event. ConnectWise did an incredible job. So many partners, so interesting to hear different perspectives and different kind of ways on how MSPs are operating in Europe. Still have the same problems, but just a little bit of a twist. But I ended up doing 10 conversations, interviews, podcasts. There was 2 other podcasters there. It was just a great event. My first conversation with Paul Croker, another podcaster, really fascinating gentleman. I'm so glad we met. Sean Lardo was next, of course, with his recent promotions and everything he's doing with IT Nation. Always love catching up with Sean and talking about IT Nation and Pitch It. Heather Alford, oh my goodness, what a great conversation with Heather. She is somebody you're going to get to know and somebody you're going to really like. Paul McNeil has been at ConnectWise for a while. He's from Australia. Interesting transformation from MSP to a vendor to now with ConnectWise. James Grant, fascinating gentleman there in the UK with Vodafone. Dan Scott, the MC of the entire event. They're heading up Europe of IT Nation. Really lots of energy. Great MC. Really made everybody feel at home. Patrick Beggs, of course, the CISO, ConnectWise. Always interesting to peek into security and to his life. Peter Kujawa runs all of IT Nation and the many plates he's now spinning and why he likes wine so much. Mikhail Stefanko, fascinating MSP from Slovakia. Fascinating man and what his issues are there. And I can't wait to see what happens with him. And then I finished out with episode number 600 with my good friend Austin Clark from Scotland. And we talk about his MSP and his challenges. Great event there in London. Manny Ravello was there, a lot of the keynotes, a lot of information and time well spent with partners, with vendors, and with MSPs there in London. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission? How do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision, growth through learning from others.
Well, when did you start liking wine? I mean, it's a really kind of...
Oh, in my 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
Did your parents like it? How were you introduced?
Not at all. My parents had the... I grew up as a child of the 70s and 80s. My parents had the jug of Riuniti in the fridge that would sit in the fridge for 2 months. Maybe a Lambrusco or something, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a great question. I remember going out. I got my first management job when I was 23 years old, and I remember going to Chicago corporate for training, and they took all the managers for the training, went out to dinner one night, and a guy ordered some Chateau de Pop and with dinner, and I'm like, wow, what's this? And so just started to kind of notice it a little bit, and then in 98 or 99, because it was a year before, I was heading into Y2K. We went out to, the year before Y2K, we went out to California for my niece's baptism, and it was the Rose Bowl, and we drove from San Fran, my wife and I did, down to LA, and we stopped in Paso Robles for a night, and we hit 6 wineries in a day, which is way too many, by the way.
Yes.
But that was where the concept of going to wineries and tasting, and all of that was born for us. So ever since then, we've been out to Napa a bunch of times.
Yeah.
We've been to Champagne. We've been all over.
Do you want to connect with business leaders and engage consumers who take action? The Joey Pinz podcast delivers high-impact conversations to an audience of decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals across multiple industries. A fast-growing audience of highly engaged listeners, both B2B and B2C. Millions of listens and views across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Brands that sponsor us see real engagement, conversations, and brand loyalty. Whether you're looking to sell a service, promote a product, or establish thought leadership, our sponsorships offer premium ad placements, exclusive episode sponsorships, full season branding, and event partnerships. Don't just advertise, become part of the conversation. Visit us at joeypins.com/sponsor to get started, or email us at sales@joeypins.com. Joey Pinz Podcast, where thought leaders, brands connect.
And could you tell the difference in wine?
Actually, I know exactly when I learned.
Really?
It was in 1994 when I moved to La Crosse. I was 24 years old, managing sales for U.S. Cellular in Wisconsin, and there was this 80-something-year-old guy named Art Sell, short guy. He's like Art was like 5'1", and Art had been educated in wine in like the late 40s in France, and he had this store in downtown La Crosse. He went over twice a year to auctions, and he bought all this wine at auction. And he'd come back, and Art had this little tasting room in the back that you'd walk through his warehouse, and he had this little, like 3 little stools in it, and he had a CD boombox with French music that he'd put on and create the ambiance. He had posters of France on the wall. And if I went in there, I'd say, hey, Art, I'm looking for a couple bottles of red. I'm looking to spend maybe $10, $12, because I didn't have any money back then. And Art would say, Peter, come on back. And he'd take you back, and he'd pull 6 bottles of wine out, and he'd have pictures of him with the winemaker from the 70s, and he'd have and he'd be like, try this. And I go, Art, that's like 3 times as much as I can spend. He goes, Peter, I just want you to try it.
Right.
And so Art taught me wine. That's what he lit the fuse.
Right. Does France make the best wine in the world?
Europe makes the best wine in the world.
Europe does.
I love Australian wines too.
California.
Yeah, Art used to say, I'd ask him about California wines, he'd say, Peter, it's all crap.
Really?
I don't believe that. I think actually there's some really good California wines.
Sure.
My tasting palate, I prefer European and Australian. They're more earthy. They have a little bit different bite to them. It's hard to describe.
Really?
The U.S., there's some really good wines. I love some wineries out of the U.S., but they tend to be a little bit more homogenized in their flavor profile.
Really?
In the Europe, you get very distinct depending on where it's from. And so.
And you could tell the difference between French and Italian and Spanish wine?
Oh, maybe. I mean, those are different grapes usually.
Really?
So if I'm drinking French, it's probably a Burgundy or it's a Bordeaux. If I'm drinking Spanish, it's a Rioja. Those are going to taste a little bit different. If I'm drinking Italian, it's probably a Chianti Classico or something along those lines. But I can definitely tell a difference between a Europe version of that wine and a California version of the same grape. Yeah.
You can taste the difference between the two.
Oh, yeah. If you have a Burgundy, which is Pinot Noir, and you taste a Burgundy Pinot Noir and you taste a California Pinot Noir, and if you taste an Australian Pinot Noir, you'll taste the difference between all 3 of them. Yeah.
It's amazing. I wonder if I could. We had some wine last night. I mean, it all tastes good to me, but my palate's not as developed though.
Yeah, drink a lot. Go to wineries, you learn it. I can't tell you. I mean, there's people who would be like, oh, I can taste leather and I can taste leather. I'm like, I can't taste any of that
Is
stuff.
that right? Cherries and tobacco?
I can taste cherries sometimes,
Yeah.
pepper a little bit, but I mean, sometimes if it's a rosé, I can taste strawberry a little bit, but people who are like, oh, I can taste dandelion, I'm like, when did you ever taste dandelion to begin with? When did you taste leather to begin with?
And should red meat always go with red wine?
Yes, as a general rule.
Generally speaking, right? And what happens if that's not followed? The taste buds get interrupted?
It's not going to explode or anything. I mean, really great food, great food and wine pairing makes both taste better. The wine, the sip of the wine brings out different flavors because of the food and the spice, and same thing with the food. When you have a really good wine and you take a bite of a steak, if you're drinking a good wine, the steak tastes better. So both of them complement each other if paired up.
So the best advice for any novice wine drinker is what?
Try a lot. Go to tastings, go to wineries. Just really kind of learn, pay attention to what you like and don't like. Don't get caught up in the snob side of it, where you like have to drink something from a certain way or anything. It's just find what you like, and you do find it through experience, through tasting.
And I have lots of friends who liked one thing for a while and then moved to another. So it actually rotates, right? I have one friend who swore they liked Riesling, which is a sweeter.
No, it can't. There's sweet Riesling, but my favorite white on earth is dry Riesling.
Really?
Which is really acidic, really dry. Not
It's
sweet.
acidic.
Oh yeah. Generally, Riesling's all pretty acidic, but there's sweet, which my college-age daughter likes. But bone dry Riesling is the best white out there.
Wow.
And you can get, but yeah, your palate changes. We used to drink a ton of Chardonnay. Loved it. We used to drink a lot of California Chard, which is really oaky and buttery. I can't drink it now.
Isn't that something?
It's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
My good friend Rombauer Chardonnay is my
Oh yeah,
favorite.
yeah. That's a butter bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a friend who loves that too.
It's a butter bomb. What does that mean?
It just means it's most of the California Chards, they were known for aging in oak for a long time, and when you age a Chard in oak, it takes on this buttery flavor to it, and so the other way you can make a Chardonnay that a lot of wineries are starting to move to, and they always have in Europe and Australia, is don't age in oak, age it in stainless steel.
Really?
And that maintains the acidity of it better. It's more crisp, and it has very different flavor.
Have you ever tried to make wine?
No, I used to make beer. I used to make
Yes.
a lot of beer.
Really?
Yeah, in my 20s. But then at some point you realize I can go to the store and there's about 300 kinds of beer available. And I can buy a 6-pack or whatever I want.
Yeah. I was making bread for a while, and then it's just like, oh man, it's a lot of work to get this sourdough culture going.
Right,
and it's
right.
like, it's $4 for really good sourdough.
Right, exactly. You can go to a bakery down the street.
Yeah, and they really know what they're doing. Yeah, but the problem with beer is that the water, you got to distill it first, right? You got to.
I never did.
Oh, really?
No. The challenge with beer is just there's a lot that goes into the process, but then you gotta age it and bottle it, and it's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. We're here in London, IT Nation, Connect. It's sold out, Peter.
We're not going to just talk wine all day, Joe?
I would love to. I would love to have some more wine. And one more question. I remember in New Zealand,
Yeah.
they take wine tours, but they actually do it on bicycles.
Yeah, they do that all over. You can do that in Napa. You can do it in Italy and France.
It's probably a little safer.
I don't know. I always found the concept to be kind of interesting because the best way to do wine tasting is to have a driver. And so I found the idea of taking a bicycle from winery to winery as I'm getting more and more looped up. It seems like it'd be fraught with a lot of risk, but I hear it's very fun.
Here's another problem I have. When I have like a bunch of wines to taste, Peter, it seems like the previous wine, you're supposed to kind of cleanse your palate, like some water or something. It seems like it influences the next one.
Yeah, they tell you to do that or have a cracker or
Right.
something. And my best advice on tasting is any wine that you taste, don't judge it until your second taste. And ideally your third. So, because that first taste is just kind of doing exactly that. It's getting your palate to adjust. The second sip you have will give you a much better idea.
Interesting. So what do you do when you're trying new wine? Do you make a mental note of it? I know there's plenty of apps that kind of rank them too, and right?
Yeah. I used to
Technology's
keep one up to date. What I do is, if I like it, I'm going to buy some.
There you go.
Then I'm going to have it. One of our rules for wine is always buy at least 2 bottles. And the logic I've got on it is, if you really love it, you're going to want to have another bottle of it handy. Maybe not for that night, but just to have it later. And if you don't really love it, you can always give it away. Take it to a dinner party or something.
Right.
There's always some place to take a bottle of wine that is okay, but not your favorite.
Bottle of wine to a party is never a bad idea to bring, right?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So do you have a big wine collection?
We have a couple hundred bottles at any time that we have in the cellar.
So you'd say, hey, tonight we're going to have this. This particular wine is going to go with it well.
Yeah.
That's exactly
right.
And you can, if you've got hundreds of bottles, how do you know which goes with which?
You know what's crazy? I struggle with names. I struggle with remembering birthdays. I struggle with all the things that normal, sane human beings are good at. But I can tell you exactly what we have for wine.
Is that right?
I can tell you when I opened this bottle of wine, who I was with, where I was, what I was eating. Wow. The association that I made, it's just something about it that clicks in my head. So, yeah, but don't ask me like some cousin's birthday or wedding or whatever. It's...
Yes, but Peter, you've got a very good memory. You've memorized so many MSP statistics. I mean, this is what you do. So perhaps you have selective memory.
Perhaps, yes. That's probably, you sound like my wife, Jo.
Yes.
Selective hearing and memory, yes.
Yeah, and vision sometimes, right? We see what we want to say. Yeah. It's fascinating wine. My father made wine. I mean, he's an Italian immigrant, but I mean, he would just get grapes and just kind of squeeze them and
there's a great book and it's also a business book called Harvests of Passion. It's the autobiography of Robert Mondavi, and he talks about how he got into wine. Was his family, they were Italian immigrants, and they were living in the Iron Range in northern Minnesota, where they were iron ore miners. There were a lot of Italians up there, and there would be 1 or 2 of them that every year got dispatched out to California to pick out the grapes to bring back. Because everybody had a barrel in their basement.
Wow.
Everybody made wine, and that's what they drank all winter. And but they would have to go out at harvest to get the grapes and bring them back. And that's how he got his relationships out in the wine regions, out in Napa and Sonoma, was going out to buy grapes for the Italian immigrants.
Robert Mondavi is from Minnesota?
Well, he's from Italy originally, but yes, his family moved to Napa from northern Minnesota.
Wow.
It's a great book, a really, really good book.
Wow.
There's also an excellent book by a Wall Street Journal writer that I don't remember that chronicles the downfall of the Mondavi Empire and why they had to sell when they were public. And it was because he overcommitted on charitable donations tied to stock. And when their stock price went down, he was locked in on meeting those obligations. And so that's why they had to sell when they sold. It's a fascinating business story.
How come there hasn't been a movie about that?
I don't know. Because there'd be like 8 of us that would be into it, I think.
Oh, you don't think a lot of people would?
No, I don't know. No, it would be, I think, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I would too.
There's a lot of layers to it, for sure.
And who's the other one that kind of got Gallo? Giulio Gallo.
Oh, yeah. The Gallo family's still huge.
Are they really?
Yeah, huge.
Good business to be in wine?
One of Mondavi's quotes is, if you want to make a small fortune in the wine business, start with a large fortune.
It's tough to make money.
Yeah, no, and in fact, right now, there's a global oversupply of wine that's a huge issue for the industry. Yeah, because starting about 4 years ago, right after COVID, consumption peaked, and it's been going down. And younger people are not drinking as much wine, and so they're drinking, seltzers and other stuff. And wine, to create a supply of wine, takes years and years. You have to plant the vines and grow them for at least 5 years, sometimes 10 years to get quality grapes. So the process of increasing production takes a long time. And so you've put all this investment in, you don't want to just plow it under and start planting corn or something, right? So globally, there's a huge oversupply. It's a great time to be a wine buyer, actually, wine drinker.
What an industry. Is there, I mean, it doesn't seem like an industry we would want to pursue if they want to be profitable. I mean, almost like restaurants, right? I mean, it's like passion, you know.
I think so, yeah. I mean, you see, when you go out to Napa now, almost all of those wineries are no longer the or the family that started them. A lot of them now are owned by, you know, some Silicon Valley billionaire who sold his company, and he goes up to Napa and buys a $30 million winery or what. I mean, it's a
right.
If as a vanity play, it would be a pretty cool deal.
That's exactly what
right?
it is. Vanity play, yeah. So he can invite his buddies and have parties there,
Right.
and yeah.
Right. There's a winery that I really like in Sonoma called B Wise. Brian Wise, I think, is his first name. And he made a bunch of money in fracking in Canada. And I think he came up with the chemical compounds that were used in fracking.
Wow.
And so he made a huge amount of money and then moved out to Sonoma, bought a bunch of land and built a winery and everything. And
Wow.
yeah, I think that's what you tend to see more now.
Jeez. That sounds
The guy
wonderful.
who founded Pixar owns a winery that's a great winery.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Man, that's a great hobby, but like all hobbies, it's time consuming.
Oh yeah, you've got to be into it.
Yeah.
And you got to have great people working for you, like any business, and you've got to really be into the business.
Yeah, you certainly do. So we're here in London, Peter. IT Nation, Connect, Europe, sold out event.
Yes.
First time it's sold out. It's
Yes.
incredible. We're on the last day now. What are your goals for this event?
Oh, our goal is the same as all the IT Nation events, and that is to bring relevant, actionable content to the MSPs who come here, and to bring a really valuable group of MSPs to our solution partners who are good enough to exhibit and be here. So we view that as a 50-50 equation, that we have to deliver value as IT Nation for the MSPs, or they're not going to come back again. And we have to bring in MSPs to provide them to the solution providers, or they're not going to come back. And both depend on each other.
Yeah.
If there aren't companies building and creating great technology for the MSPs like ConnectWise and other solution providers who are here, the MSPs aren't going to be able to become more efficient and do their job and increase their growth. And if the MSPs are not growing and successful, then the solution providers are going to struggle. So it's symbiotic. So we're focused on really both, but we're here to give back to the MSP community and help them grow and be successful, and help the solution providers grow and be successful.
Why would an MSP want to partner with ConnectWise?
ConnectWise is unique for the community. ConnectWise over the years has made significant investments in the community. And I think, you know, there's others who have good intentions when it comes to community and talk about it, but ConnectWise bought HTG 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And HTG, this is our 25th year. That's now known as the Evolve Peer Group community. It's the largest peer group community of its type worldwide. We have very vibrant communities, all geos worldwide, including here in Europe. That's headed up by Dan Scott. And that community, 25 years of creating success in managed services, a lot of where the industry is at today is directly attributable to Arlen Sorensen and to the Evolve community. That what's going on in M&A today, for example, the amount of successful transitions so many partners have been able to make that have changed their life and the life, in many cases, of the next generation of those families. So 25 years, and ConnectWise bought that and has invested massively in that community. Service Leadership, which I run, as well as IT Nation. Service Leadership was acquired at the end of 2020 by ConnectWise from Paul Dipple. And again, one of the most influential organizations for shaping what MSPs are today out there with service leadership. And so those two entities alone, ConnectWise is brought into the fold, invested in. And so it's not just that there's general talk about community. Nobody has anything like the IT Nation community. The IT Nation community today is peer groups, it's IT Nation Connect events like this, IT Nation Secure, and so much more that we're doing. IT Nation Grow, and then also service leadership. And so we continue to bring these tools and peer groups out to the masses. ConnectWise has priced these in a way that we are not here to generate EBITDA. It's not, we're here to basically cover costs, but to, the mandate to us is get more partners into IT Nation events, get more partners to join our peer groups, and get more partners to benchmark. And so today you can buy all the service leadership products in a bundle. That's about 70% less than what it cost before we were acquired.
Wow.
And it's because ConnectWise wants us to get these things out to the masses, because in all cases, we know that partners who benchmark and partners who are in a peer group grow faster and are more profitable than those that don't. That's great for the community if partners are growing faster and are more profitable. It's also, by the way, really good for ConnectWise, because if you're growing faster and you're more profitable, you also need to buy more stuff.
Right.
So, so it's not entirely altruistic, but largely it is. And I think those investments in community, but also the fact that these communities are inside of ConnectWise, means that we shape. We have a part of the shaping of the vision for product strategy. We're involved when executives want to understand, if we do X, Y, and Z, will it make partners more successful? We can say yes, or we can say no. That's what you're talking about is interesting, but it's not how MSPs use our tools, or it's not how MSPs price their offerings to their customers, et cetera. And so the fact that this unbelievable amount of knowledge of what drives success is on the inside helps ConnectWise make products that are more relevant as well.
And that helps everyone. It helps the MSP. It helps the small to medium business that they're supporting, and it helps ultimately the MSP. You had some great slides, Peter, on Monday. How different is the European market than the U.S.?
It's different. The partners in Europe, on average, are about half the size of what they are in the U.S.
Interesting.
If you currency convert, the average partner in Europe is about 2.9 million pounds of revenue. The average partner currency converted in the U.S. to pounds would be, I think the number is about 5.4 million. I'd have to look exactly, Joe, but it's around there. And profitability historically has lagged here. Profitability and average profitability in the U.S. is about 12.5% EBITDA. Here it's about 8%.
Interesting.
The good news is that a year ago it was about 5%. So partners here are getting more profitable, and growth is happening at a faster rate here than it is in the U.S.
I see.
So the gap, we've historically seen this market be about 2 years behind on some trends that we see in the U.S. And when I say that, sometimes when I'm speaking on stage, things are getting thrown at me from the crowd. But the point isn't a negative one. It's not disparaging. It's actually a positive one, because what we've seen in the U.S. has been really good. So if this market is about 2 years behind and can keep moving towards that, that means that multiples will continue to increase. That means profitability will continue to increase. Growth should be healthy. So these are all really good future indicators.
Really good future indicators. Yeah, and how about Australia compared? Is it similar?
It's similar, yeah. It's depending on the indicator, it can be a little behind Europe or a little ahead of Europe, but it is behind the U.S. as well.
Interesting.
Valuations are another place we see some differences. Valuations in Europe are about 10% under what they are in the U.S. for an equivalent size company. So if I look at two companies that both have let's say $5 million of revenue and 15% EBITDA, the one in Europe's going to be about 10% under what the value will be in the U.S. In Australia, it's about 20 to 22% under.
Wow.
But in both cases, those deltas were larger a couple of years ago. In Australia, it used to be 2 years ago about 30 to 35% under. Today, it's about 20 to 22%.
Wow.
In Europe, they used to be a couple of years ago about 20% under. Today, they're about 10, 10 and a half. So I think in 2, 3, 4 years, they'll be the same.
Really?
Yeah.
They'll all even out. Mm-hmm. And so will U.S. continue to grow and the others will catch up, or will the U.S. kind of plateau?
I think the former. The U.S. will continue to grow. I think its growth has definitely slowed, but it'll continue to grow. It'll continue to be a healthy market for MSPs. But I think you'll see the pace of growth and the pace of profitability improvement be greater in Europe and greater in Australia.
So, I'm a former MSP, this, Peter, just like yourself. And so when I talk to new MSPs and they want advice, I give them 3 pieces. One is join a peer group. So
Yes.
It changed my MSP. I joined HCG in Harlan 15 years ago. It was absolutely wonderful. Second is get a business operating system, whatever it may be. There's plenty of them. Pick one and work with it. And third is where you need it, hire a coach. What do you think about those 3 pieces, Ray?
I think those are excellent pieces of advice. The first 2 kind of go together. If you join a peer group, there's going to be a lot of exposure to EOS and to other business operating systems. But I agree. I mean, I said it from the main stage Monday night to MSPs here. Yeah. If you take one bit of advice out of this event, it's join Evolve. And because a lot of partners will come to me and say, well, I want to start benchmarking. How should I do it? Well, you can subscribe to benchmarking. About 2/3 of our subscribers are not in any sort of peer group.
Oh,
they
really?
Just subscribe. And that's fine. But it will take you longer to get going on it. You will not have as much guidance, and you will not have a group of people you get together with every quarter to help you interpret those results. And if you join a peer group, an Evolve group, it's going to come with benchmarking as part of your membership fee. Your onboarding training is going to include guidance that'll be additional guidance on getting started. And every quarter, you all see each other's results and you discuss them. In fact, we go into those rooms. Service leadership personnel directly goes in and talks about. And so it's kind of like, do you want to do benchmarking or do you want to do benchmarking on steroids and get it accelerated and get the useful guidance much faster? For us, that's what we did at our MSP. And I see folks do both, but the probability of success is going to be way higher with a peer group.
I know every quarter we spent a lot of time on our SLI data, and sometimes Paul would come in, sometimes
Brian,
Brian from
come in on a scooter,
from Boston,
maybe.
in a scooter in a backpack with the radio on, and it was well worth it. So. Yeah, I can't stress enough to join a peer group. Now, so you recently promoted, Peter. So you're in charge of all of IT Nation, which has a lot of properties, like you mentioned before. So
I was looking for things to do.
Were you?
I was sitting around most afternoons saying,
not enough wineries.
It's 2 p.m. and I'm done with things to do. I don't know how I'm going to spend my day. So yes.
Do you miss being a lawyer?
Yeah, sometimes. I enjoyed being corp counsel. The last company I was at before joining ConnectWise, we had an 85-employee MSP that had been acquired, and I continued to run that, and I was corporate counsel for the parent company. And I enjoyed the occasional mix of legal work with the MSP work. But I love what I do. I've got the greatest job anywhere. I mean, for me, we were so unbelievably helped at a time that we needed it. I told the story a lot that we probably would have been closed by our owner.
Wow.
Had we not discovered benchmarking and peer groups and become more profitable. I didn't own that MSP. I was brought in to do a turnaround, and it's a really hard business. You find that quickly. And so for me, service leadership, benchmarking, and peer groups made an incredible difference on my life. My kids were young. We had moved to be where the MSP was, and I don't want to have to move them again and everything. And so, huge impact on me, huge impact on our employees. The guy who took over for me as CEO when I came to ConnectWise was a sales rep for me in 2010.
Wow.
And grew into a sales manager and ultimately was a really capable executive. And he today is president of that MSP. Those are things that that's really meaningful to me. And so today I get to work every quarter with hundreds and hundreds of MSPs at IT Nation events, service leadership, with evolved peer groups. I mean, it's the greatest. What could be better?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in the culture of the community, you've been around it a long time. The culture of the community is a go-giver culture.
Yes.
And the Bob Berg book is the seminal book read for anybody joining. And it's really, when you talk to my leadership team and our employees, it's such a joy to work with them because everybody comes in committed to the mission and the go-giver mentality. And then so many MSPs that come in and are part of it, they want to give and they want to help. And so what a great community to be part of.
Yes, it is really, really cool. And yeah, I think you set it up on stage, or maybe it was Manny. Other communities, they just don't they kind of hold close to their chest, and it's very open here, and it's wonderful. I remember the first big lesson I learned from SLI when I was an MSP in the peer groups. It was margin on equipment, and we were only doing a couple percent. The average at the time is what was about 20, 25. Do you know what the average is now?
27 is best in class.
27 is, yeah. And I remember thinking, this has got to be crazy. And I went back, talked to my team. We hiked everything up. Then we got like one little minor complaint, but it was accepted all the way across the board. These are the kinds of moments that makes everything well worth it.
Oh yeah, pay attention to the data. When you benchmark, the data doesn't lie. The data is telling you something. My advice is listen to what it is telling you. In some cases, it's telling you that you're doing really well in certain areas. So great. How do you do even better in those, and how do you double down on those things? Don't stop doing them if you're doing well. But yeah, I had a very similar case. My sales reps, when I came in, we were getting 13% on hardware, and this was in 2010. And we were doing about $1 million of hardware a year, and I thought 13% is pathetic. I was coming from an industry where we typically were focused on 40 to 50% margin. And they're like, no, Peter, everybody can price shop us and go online, and 13's it, best we can do, and some of them will be single-digit deals, and just it is what it is. And finally, after about 6 months, I got sick of arguing on it and just accepted it. And our first report came back. We were at 13%, and best in class was 23%. I remember it clearly. And I went back and said, hey, guys, see this?
You're right.
And we are now going to set our threshold. Our floor is going to be 23%. We're going to hit, this is a monthly KPI that we're going to measure.
Wow.
And we hit it the next month, and we never missed.
Amazing.
And, when you're losing money, which we were losing a lot of money, $1 million of hardware, an extra 10 points is 100,000. That's material.
Yes.
It's always material, but it's especially material when you're losing a lot of money. And yeah, like you said, we had a couple of customers that kicked and screamed a little bit. Nobody else cared.
Right.
I mean, we're there to provide a service, and like, guys, this is what we need to charge. And yeah, we're going to be more expensive than if you go online, but if you have a problem, call us. If you have a warranty issue, we'll take care of it.
That's right.
Right? There's a reason why you're going to pay us a little bit more to not have to deal with all the other hassle.
Yeah. Very well justified. Peter, has there been anything in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
Oh boy, I probably change my mind on stuff every day. Yeah, I'll give you one from this week, actually.
Okay.
So our registration, we cut our price for this event about 40%, and we're doing it for all the IT Nation events. We're making our ticket prices much more reasonable based on feedback that we got last year. That part of the reason that we were flatlining on attendance was that we just had gotten too expensive. And a
Wow.
lot of MSPs told us in surveys that I used to like to come and bring 2-3 people from my MSP, but now I can only afford to come as myself. And sorry, you guys are just too expensive. So we brought the ticket price down about 40%.
Wow.
We did some promos. Our most aggressive promo for this event was $199 pounds early bird, which was a little over half price. And if you were an Evolve member, you could do it for $149. Well,
Wow.
we signed the contract for next year a couple weeks ago, and we did that so we could do an on-site promotion. And our on-site promotion was going to be $149, and I was pretty excited. That was the lowest price by far that you could get a ticket for. And Dan Scott came to me over the weekend and said, Peter, let's do 99.
Huh.
And I said, Dan, that's too low. And 149 is the lowest we ever offered, and that's in and of itself a good deal. And that's, another 50%, 50 or whatever, 30% down. And I said no. And Dan asked me about it again, and I slept on it. I came back Monday and said, let's do it. So that's what we launched from the main stage Monday night. We updated our slides Monday afternoon.
Wow.
To go from 149 to 99.
Wow.
So,
And the States, it'll be less expensive as well?
Yeah. Secure ticket price will be down for secure. Ticket prices, we're going to have this strategy. Our goal is to sell out. I mean, we heading into this event, I was told that best case scenario, we had on site 2 years ago a total of about 300 MSPs. And I was told that with all the new events that have popped up in the past couple of years and all the competition for events, that if you can flatline, we're doing okay. That as long as we don't lose more attendees, then that's a win. And I said, that's not a win to me. That doesn't feel like a win. Let's target a 10% growth in attendance. And so 10% growth would have put us at about 330, 335. And so we said, let's target that. Best case scenario is 350. And we sold out at 400 on Friday last week.
Wow.
And so the lesson is make sure you're listening to your customers, keep it affordable. And pay attention to what they're telling you. In our case, keep it affordable. Second was they were also telling us that the events had stagnated a little bit and we needed to mix things up. So our Monday night keynote was radically different than what we have done for normal keynotes. Our opening night keynote at Secure is going to be radically different.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna have a panel. Instead of doing just a traditional keynote, we're gonna have a panel up there for a half hour, and there will be 4 panelists. Patrick Beggs, our CISO, will be one, but we will have the high-level executives from 3 competitors also on there, on stage together, including some very fierce competitors.
Wow.
On stage together, talking about the state of cyber and the opportunity for MSPs. And that's going to be our opening night kickoff. Nobody's going to want to miss it. So we're trying some new stuff, Joe. I think you can't keep going back to the well with exactly the same every night. IT Nation Australia, we already have locked in on speakers, and we're working on some things there. And we're already working on, we're going to do a really great opening night party at IT Nation Connect this fall to keep everybody on site for the first time.
Great.
That's going to be a radical change. I don't want to announce too much yet, but that's going to be to raise money for veterans, and it's a name that you'll know that'll be entertaining.
Wow.
And, that's going to be really cool. We're doing some other stuff there that we'll announce in good time, but I'm looking at this. I look at these events. I used to go to all these events as an MSP, right?
Yeah.
And what did I like? Well, I liked going. Number one was content.
Yep.
I had to come away with it with, if I came away with 3 to 4 really actionable, good things and I'd keep my notepad and I'd write in my legal pad everything. But when you got back and really looked and distilled it down, you can't do everything. Are there 3 or 4 things that I can go back and change in my business that are going to make an impact. So that was number one. So we have to do that, and so we're always focused on delivering that kind of quality content. But the second thing was, did I have a good time? Did I enjoy it? Did my people have fun? And so things like the entertainment that we did last night, or having a great guest keynote speaker like Daniel Priestley today, I thought he did excellent.
Yeah.
Those things were impactful to me. So now that I'm running and making some of these decisions, that's the lens I'm looking through.
That's awesome, Peter. It's gonna be a great year, and I'm glad you decided you have more time available to do this. So you know my story. I lost a lot of weight. People ask me how. I always say discipline. I've asked you this before. So given everything that's where we are now, how does discipline play a role in your life still?
Well, I mean, I need to be more disciplined on that, on the fitness side, Joe. I'm Wisconsin skinny
Me too.
at this point.
Wisconsin skinny. Never heard that.
No, I actually, in all seriousness, have become pretty addicted to the Peloton.
Yes.
And so I love now, because of how much I travel.
Yes.
When all the Hiltons and all the Marriotts have Peloton, so I try to every morning do at least a half hour. Didn't quite make it there this morning.
Yes.
I needed a good night's sleep after the event, but hit it yesterday, hit it Monday, hit it Sunday. So, so for me, if I can wake up, go do a Peloton. I'm also trying to read, not pick up my device right away in the morning like I used to. I like to when I'm home. I'll get up at about 5 and I'll read for about 20 minutes or so, go down and work out and come back up. And then I'm really ready for the day. And so for me, discipline, the amount of emails and Teams messages that I get per day, it's like a slot machine paying off when I open up my email and Teams. And so I have to carve time out every day. And if I don't, I'm just not going to be able to keep up. I'm also trying to do a better job, as I think many business leaders who come up from small business, I didn't have an executive assistant. I didn't have folks to delegate some of the things to. And so for me, stepping into service leadership, that was a small but mighty team. It was very similar to running an MSP, where if it's to be done, it's going to be me doing it, right? Now that I'm in my role, I have to be better, and I'm trying to be better at delegating. I've got unbelievable people around me. I need to make sure that I'm not trying to do everything, that I'm trusting my team and help and giving them different things that they can work on. And so for me, that's probably the biggest discipline I need to improve, and just really continue to delegate as much as I can to people who can. Not only can they do the job, but oftentimes, most times, they can do it better than me. So why not use them?
Yes. Your brand deserves to be in front of the right audience decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ready to take action. That's exactly who listens to the Joey Pinz podcast. Thousands of engaged business leaders and consumers tune in every week. Millions of views and listens across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Sponsors see real impact, higher engagement, brand trust, and conversations. We offer strategic partnerships tailored to your goals, including targeted ad placements, branded guest appearances, multi-episode and event sponsorships. Make your brand part of the conversation. Let's grow together. Visit joeypinz.com/sponsor to explore sponsorship opportunities, or email us at sales@joeypinz.com. The Joey Pinz podcast, where brands and thought leaders connect. I see that a lot in the smaller MSPs, where delegation is a huge issue. You know, it's their baby, and it's a real skill, and it takes discipline.
It's also why so many MSPs cap out at around 10 employees, around $1 million in revenue. The owner has to, at some point, let go of things that A, they always did, but B, they enjoy doing. You're not just letting go of things that you dislike in a lot of cases. To be able to scale your business, you have to let go of things that you enjoy. And so I'll give you an example for me recently. I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy being part of content. That being said, I was often the gating factor on the volume of content that service leadership could generate, because everybody would be waiting for me to read and write something. I now have a great content team headed by Brad Scow, and so I'm letting go on some of that, and there's some things that I still want to do final review on. but I might spend 2 hours reviewing something that I would have spent 3 days rewriting and updating. And so I've had to really adjust, and I love writing and I love being part of that, but if it's going to all flow through me, I'm going to slow it down. So I've had to realize that for us to be successful, I need to be good at letting go of some of that.
Yeah, it's tough to let go. There's still I know some smaller MSPs who still order the pizza. It's like somebody can do that. Yeah. Peter, I thank you so much for your time. This is really, really cool. I love what you're doing with IT Nation. This is a great event. My first time here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here, Joe. It's awesome having you here.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.